So I want to talk a little bit about what you should do when you feel like giving up because I thought it was such an interesting question. Somebody was saying, "What do you do when you feel like giving up?" So I wrote down some notes. I wrote down some things that I thought would be interesting that I wanted to share with you. Maybe you might find them useful and they can add some value to the quality of your life so that you can become a higher, fuller expression of who you're capable of becoming. So the first thing that I would share with you, and I think is pretty apparent, is I'm not really surprised. If you are feeling low, if you are feeling like you want to give up on life, you want to give up on yourself, I'm not really surprised. Because if you look around us today, just today in 2021, we've got so much that is happening around the world. I mean, I wrote down some things here. We've got culture wars, we've got gun crime, we've got people losing their job, we've got a pandemic, we've got businesses who are closing down due to just simply not getting enough funding, due to simply not getting enough business. We've got housing prices that are through the roof. People can't even save enough to be able to buy their own home. And if they're renting, their rents are through the roof to the degree that most people don't even we can't even live a good standard of life where we can live the kind of lifestyle that we want. Most of us feel out of control. Most of us feel like there's so much that is constantly battling us. We feel like we're going upstream. Most of us are depressed. We live in a world where people cannot be trusted, where people have shadow intentions, where people are selfish, okay? People don't look out for their neighbor. People don't care very much about the neighbor. We've got political division that is happening around the world. Like a lot of people are being raised in families where they haven't got their father, or they've got an absent father or an absent mother. There's just dysfunction in their family. There's divorce in their family. They're not hugged. They're not loved. They're not appreciated. They're not encouraged, right? There's loads of complicated family dynamics going on. So we're living in a world where I'm not really surprised if a person is feeling like they want to give up. I'm not surprised. Okay, but that's the first thing that I wanted to say. However, in me saying that, let me say my next thing. The darkness cannot exist without the light. And what I mean by that is the world seems to work on this kind of duality, okay? And it seems to work in terms of there is an up and there's a down, there's a good and there's a bad, there's a darkness and there's a light, which means that we can either accept and be defeated by the darkness, or we can do the work and fight to step into the light. Now, my observation has been, and this is an observation, and I may be wrong here, that naturally the darkness seems to take over. By nature, by default, it seems that most of us are more leaned to doing what is easy, to leaving our garden if we can, to having an argument if it's easier, to not working out. So in order for us to become winners, in order for us to become champions, in order for us to turn our lives around, we're going to have to do things that are difficult. We're going to have to fight. We're going to have to do things that are really, really difficult, things that are inconvenient. We're going to have to go outside of our comfort zone. We're going to have to meet people who we don't necessarily are not like us. We're going to have to collaborate with people. We're going to have to let people go. We're going to have to improve our attitude, our thinking. We're going to have to acquire new skills. We're going to have to upgrade our knowledge. And the reality of life is a lot of people don't want to do this shit. Most people are lazy by nature, right? And so what I would share with you is, yes, absolutely, there is darkness in the world. Absolutely. You may feel like giving up, and you may have been one of those people where in life you've had more bad, more darkness, more shadow, more betrayal, more backstabbing, more people leaving you and abandoning you than most people. But here's my belief. My belief is that you can handle it. And actually, when I coach people, one of the things that we talk about is meaning, right? Meaning. Didn't really think about that before I said it. Meaning that it is there, of course we can't affect what happens to us, right? You can't affect. Clearly, if you were brought up in a family where your parents introduce you to drugs or they introduce you to cocaine at the age of 4 or 5, how in the world could you have affected that, right? You just picked the wrong lottery when it comes to when it came to your parents. If you ended up in a relationship where your partner was amazing the first 5 years and then turned into a narcissist serial killer, how in the world could you have possibly predicted that? Of course, it might have been signs, blah blah blah, but the reality is you were a good human being. You trusted your partner. So, like, what you supposed to do? Distrust everybody? So, whilst, of course, those exist, those dark aspects of life exist, I encourage you to make the decision to step into the light, to fight. And all of this, again, stems from decision. You have to make the decision. Nobody can force you to do this. Nobody is going to force you to start from the bottom and rise to the top. And also, going back to that, is that I truly believe that if you've experienced all of that pain and hurt, you can handle it. That's why you've been given it. If I took the same pain that you have and I gave it to somebody else, one of your friends, somebody you know, they would be dark human beings. They would turn into Mussolinis, Hitlers, because their heart is already not pure. Okay, it just is. It's too much for them to be able to handle. But the fact that you still want to fight, the fact that you're listening to me, is a testament to show you that you're clearly somebody who is a natural winner. It's just life has been a bit shit for you. So my encouragement to you is make the decision to become a fighter. Make the decision to become a winner. Make the decision to do whatever you need to do in order to get to where you want to get to. Right? Have that warrior mentality. Don't be defeated and crumbled by challenge. Instead, fight is one of the first things that I would share with you. The second thing that I would share third thing that I would share with you is I believe that human beings deep down who are good cannot. No, let me rephrase this. I believe that human beings deep down who are good will eventually be revealed by life. What do I mean by that? So what I mean by that is, if you truly are a good person and you truly believe that deep down you deserve happiness, do you know what will happen? Life will reveal it. Your life will eventually reveal it based on the choices that you make. I've come to realize, do you know what? There's a lot of people who are born into the dark side of life or introduced to the dark side of life. They may become alcoholics, they may start gambling, they may become robbers. But at some point, they all make a decision and realize, hold on a minute, this isn't really me. Right? I know I've made mistakes. I know I've manipulated, I've lied, I've used people, but that really isn't me. That really isn't who I am. And so many people, if you look at their life, most of these individuals would rather, how do I call it? There was a phrase that I coined. It goes something like this. Some people would rather not come on at half time if the team is losing. What I mean by that is, in football, if you watch a football game, a lot of players, if their team is 3-0 down and they're offered to come on at half time, they won't want to come on. And part of it is, if we're already losing halfway through this, why would I bother coming on? Instead of them coming on and saying, do you know what? We can turn this around. Do you know what? Even if we end up the score being 3-2 or 3-1, instead I would just rather give up and I would just much rather take the 3-0. Right? I don't want to participate. I don't want to be part of the losing. And what essentially I encourage you to do is look at your life and be the kind of person who says, you know what, fuck it. In spite of the fact that I may have made mistakes, I'm still going to correct this. I'm still going to do something. I'm still going to go. I would much rather be minus 50 behind and make it to 3 than be 50 behind for the rest of my life. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? That that progress that you may have made, yes, you may have been at 3 and not at 100 or 80 or whatever it may be, but at least you've made some kind of progress. At least you've bettered yourself. At least you've shown yourself that you are really truly a good person. Think about that. Let me take you on to this. Do you know what I've come to realize? I've come to realize that deep down, do you know what? Most people are already broken. So part of it is, I honestly believe that you have to give people a chance. I think a lot of life is around understanding that most of us, really deep down, life has happened to us. Whether I like to admit it or not, there is a lot of people who life has happened to. Shit just hasn't been good for them. Okay? It's been bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. And sometimes people can, if you look at their behavior, you can think, God, what a dick. What a horrible person. What an evil person. But I think sometimes it's really important to be like what the courts do, which is to have the background. You know, when someone commits a murder or somebody commits a crime, one of the things that a court wants to know is what led the person to doing it. What happened? What were the reasons? And I think a lot of life, if you are feeling like you want to give up, one of the things that I ask you to really think about is are the people who have hurt you or the circumstances that have happened to you, are they really deliberate, or was it due to just somebody was hurt and they did it to you and they decided to hurt you? Somebody was broken and they basically just continued the cycle of brokenness, right? The system is broken and you were just thrust into the broken system. And I think, and there's a lot of other people in the system who are also nervous, who are also anxious, who also don't want to break out of the system, and so they're just continuing what they think they should be doing or what they know. And I ask you to really think about that, because if you think about it, you will come to the realization that most people aren't really trying to hurt you deliberately. Most systems aren't there to deliberately fuck you over. They just are. Some aspects of humanity just, it, as I say to a lot of people, it is what it is, right? That's just how some things are, right? Look, there are some people, no matter how much you give to them, no matter how good a person you are, they'll still stab you, they'll still use you, they'll still manipulate you. And that's just the way that it is. You know, one of the things that I talk about is, if you say that a liar shouldn't be a liar, then you're highly naive. Because a liar is supposed to lie. That is why we call them liars, right? And our job is to recognize that they're liars and not allow that to stop us, and not allow us that to stop us from reaching our greatness, from achieving the highest, fullest expression of who we're capable of becoming as human beings. One of the other things that I wanted to share with you is to really employ gratitude in your life. I think gratitude is so important, and I think most of us underestimate the importance of gratitude. Gratitude, being grateful for the fact that, you know what, yes, your life may have been shit, but at least you weren't born in fucking Afghanistan, where there's constant war, where there is oppression, where there is the markets are constant, there's inflation all the time, where there's a lack of food, where there is war going on all the time. I mean, it's just a nightmare, right? At least you're not a woman who's been born into this a country where you're highly vulnerable to be lured into sex trafficking. In the UK, it's really difficult to be able to get into that kind of position. It's just something so I think a lot of being in a dark place is really realizing gratitude. And the last thing that I wanted to share with you is do something. Okay, do something. I mean, so many people who are in positions in their life and they don't want to be in those positions. They're unhappy. They're in a dark place. They want to give up. And I'm like, okay, well, what have you done recently? What have you read? Who have you spoken to? Who have you sought out? And a lot of people have done nothing. And what I encourage you to do is okay, let me use a metaphor. So about 5-6 years ago, I broke down in a car. And I came to a realization that day where I sat in my car and was expecting somebody to come out and help me, but nobody came out. So I was at traffic lights, and eventually nobody came out to help me. So I had my hazard lights on, and so what I did was I got out of my car and I started pushing my car. And as I started pushing my car, somebody came out and they started out of their car and they started pushing me. And that day, I came to a rather abrupt and kind of big realization, which is that most of the time, there's loads of people who will help you, but you have to do the heavy lifting. You have to be already pushing yourself. There's loads of people around you who can help you, who can advise you, who can point you in the right direction. But you know what? Until you start heading in that direction, they won't ever do it. They won't prompt you because they don't know what you want. They don't know where you're heading. They don't know what help you need, right? And so what I encourage you to do is do something. Anything that will get you in the direction of what looks brighter. You know what? Don't focus on being a multimillionaire, having everything all together. Just do the best that you can with what you've got. I was speaking to somebody, a woman, and she was depressed. And I said to her, look, one of the things that you can do is, and this is going to sound really stupid, wake up. And if you don't feel like going into work and you're depressed, do a very simple thing. Wake up, go for a shower, put on all your work clothes, put on all your makeup, do all your hair, don't leave your house, and then put it all off again, go for a shower if you need to, and then go back to bed. And that one thing, do that every single day, and what slowly by slowly, it will get you into the mood of improving your mood, of heading in the right direction, of becoming a winner, right? That's how you get on that higher wavelength, in my opinion, of course. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you. I don't know whether you found them useful or not, or if they've added some value to you, but I hope that they have. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that fancy stuff to our channel. Click the notification button and all that. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.